everyone. Welcome to Taste Different Gaming Appetizers. What are we talking about tonight? Nintendo Switch 2 has sold a lot. Before we get into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're not already. Help us out, do us a favor. I see a lot of people watching, not a lot of subscribing. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't hurt to hit it, and it helps us out. So Nintendo 2 is outselling the OG Switch 2-1 across the globe. The Nintendo Switch 2 is the fastest selling Nintendo hardware in the US in the 4 days following its release, according to a statement obtained by IGN from Nintendo. Additionally, Nintendo Switch 2 sales in all regions were approximately twice those of the Nintendo Switch 1 across both consoles the first 4 days on the market. This comes on the heels of Nintendo's announcement yesterday that the Nintendo Switch 2 was also the fastest selling Nintendo hardware globally, reaching over 3.5 million units sold in the first 4 days. For comparison, the Nintendo Switch 1 sold 2.74 million units globally in just less than a month on sale. Nintendo is projecting 15 million sales globally of the Nintendo Switch 2 for the fiscal year ending in March 31st of 2026. High sales are being attributed to the high available stock at launch, something that's isn't always guaranteed at a console launch. But Doug Bowser, Nintendo's U.S. president, had previously assured that Nintendo would have enough Switch 2 units to meet the demand in U.S. In the UK, the Switch 2 sales were lower than those of the PS4 and PS5 and Xbox Series console in the same period. The UK has historically been a more challenging market for Nintendo when compared to its competitors. Meanwhile, in Japan, the Nintendo Switch 2 is in such high demand that parody listings are popping up online, marking the Switch 2 that are just light switches. So you can flip a switch instead of your console. So yeah, I mean that's within the 4 day period, right? So they're comparing it to the Switch 1 and other consoles in that 4 day time frame of being quite the seller. And really ultimately, like, this just proves that in a sense Nintendo was right at selling it for $500, right? Basically, yeah, there's people online, especially us, and I got a Switch too, and I know Shane's not here, but he got one as well, and so we're part of the problem. Yes, I mean, we know, but those individuals such as myself, that come out here and bitch about the price point still will slap down those dollar bills when it comes to it and buy those things. Now, for me, I did trade in my Xbox Series X, which most of that money for trade-in went towards the Switch. So I didn't buy the Switch 2 outright, but I still had to put some money of my own towards it, but not the full $500. But yeah, I mean, the Switch 2 is doing, even with one game, the Switch 2 is doing very well for Nintendo. So I don't know. I don't know what any of this means, really. I mean, it almost tells the other markets, or like PlayStation or even Xbox, that like, hey, you don't have to like do much of anything, right? Especially if you have a successful product beforehand, right? The Switch 1 was a successful product. A really successful product, right? I think it's the highest selling console overall, compared to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. So, putting out the Switch 2, of course, all those people that have a Switch 1 and being backwards compatible, I think helps too. But having a Switch 1, all those people that had that, more likely were going to turn around and buy a Switch 2. So here they are, right? I don't know, good for them, I guess. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I honestly didn't expect it to sell as well. I thought the $500 price tag would hinder its sales. I think they claim that in the U.S. market alone, they sold $1.1 million in the first week. So it's unprojected, right? So, so I was not expecting that. I was expecting $500 to be too much for a console for the Switch, especially when it had a singular exclusive, a singular new game, not singular new game, right? Because they did a up the up the they did an upgrade on some older games, and you had to pay for those things. I think there was some free ones too, right? That you got, but if you want to do the Zeldas and stuff like that with the enhanced version, you had to pay for those or be a member of their subscription service, like $50 a year or something. Um, so I didn't expect it to sell as well as it did. So I was completely wrong. Nintendo has nostalgia for a lot of people, and enough nostalgia to entice people to buy their product. Um, Microsoft couldn't get away with that. Sony probably could, get away with that, doing something like that. But $500 was just too much for me. It's not something that I'm willing to spend for a handheld console, or handheld gaming unit, especially when there's a singular game and it's not a console mover game for me. So I'm obviously not their demographic. I'm not their person
Even
that
though
they're.
he was wearing the shirt.
Yeah, I have a Mario Kart shirt. I like Mario Kart, but it's not enough to
not
make
not
me
enough
go.
to buy a new console for.
Not enough to spend $500.
My
Right.
cousin, speaking of that, my cousin asked me about it because he's like, you got to Switch 2. And he was like, what do you think and everything? And because they didn't have one in his area, but he was looking to buy one. And I was like, well, and this is what I've said to you. And I think I've even said it on one of our videos, like, I think the Switch 2 is a really great system. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Do I think it's worth it now? I do not, because there is only a single piece of software, right? There's Mario Kart. Mario Kart World is great. I love Mario Kart World. I think it's a great Mario Kart, but that's really all you're getting right now. I think down the line, once they get more games under their belt, it will definitely be worth the purchase at that point, right? The new Donkey Kong comes out in July. It looks really fun. Metroid comes out later this year. That'll be great. That's also coming out on the Switch 1, but it's going to have Switch 2 enhancements. And then when they start getting more Switch 2 specific only games on there, a new Mario or whatever, or F-Zero or Star Fox or whatever they come out with, another Metroid maybe that's just specific for Switch 2, then they did announce a Splatoon 2 or a Splatoon spin-off game.
Okay.
I'm not a big Splatoon fan, but Splatoon is a popular franchise for them.
It is. Yeah.
That is a Switch 2 exclusive game on this following Splatoon. It's not Splatoon 4. It's like Splatoon Raiders or Riders or something like that. Yeah. But that's going to do well for them, right? So I think ultimately the Switch 2 is definitely going to be worth it in the long run once they get more software under their belt. But as far as my cousin goes, I told him that, like, hey, Mario Kart's really the only thing. So I'd say, kind of pass on it now until later on. But for him, Mario Kart was a must have, right? So, and like, well, Mario Kart's a must have. It's a great Mario Kart. So there you go. There's your justification for getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I enjoy Mario Kart, but it's not a console mover for me, and not at $500. It's not a mover. And plus, for me, I would have to get the Pro controller, so I'm looking at almost $600 after tax. I'm looking at $600+. So to me, it's not worth it at this point in where it's at. It's funny because a lot of naysayers out there who were like, "Oh, it's just too expensive." I follow a lot of people. I read a lot of gaming news and follow a lot of people who play games. I would say the majority of them, 70% plus of them, have bought a Switch 2. All the people out there bitching about it have bought a Switch 2. So, they're part of the problem. If you want to call it a problem, they're part of the Nintendo does what Nintendo does group and what they want to, right? Because I never thought a $500 console would just be flying off the shelves. Now, you could still find them around here in retail stores. So it's not like, I know I've heard stories of scalpers getting them, and it's funny because they're just not hard to find. I'm sure in some markets, in some places, they're probably hard to find, but around here, you can go to Target and get one. I heard I've seen Walmart come and go with stock, so I don't think any of the GameStops have them in stock. Last I checked or heard. So those non-gaming retailers like Target and Walmart are probably your best bets around here to get them. So Nintendo did good by having enough stock to supply the U.S. market. At least I know in Japan it like Nick said, you're getting a light switch instead of getting a switch too. You got to read the description very carefully. I've even seen the Mario Kart bundle at Target with the non-stickered version box. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, I'm going to wait. There's going to have to be more than a singular game that I want to play. Probably more than two. Metroid would have been Metroid probably would have been a really close console pusher for me, but it's going to be out on the Switch 1 and I can get my fix there. But, I've heard, the Zelda games and quite a few others play like they should have, like they were meant to be played, so the upgraded versions sound cool. The problem is I don't want to spend an extra $10 to upgrade my version, and things like that. So, I don't know. I'm voting with my wallet, just like Nick and Shane did. They voted with their wallet.
Yeah.
We voted at odds.
Well, Shane was, he was in the waiting. Yeah. He was in the waiting room. He was going to wait
and then
until
he what I knew was going to happen.
Mine.
Yeah. That's why I never used your guys' VRs before that. Cause I know what's going to happen if I play it. I'm like, I got to get it. Right. I want it.
Shane played it and then he wanted it. And he had one 2 days later, I think.
The next day, I think it was the next day, wasn't it?
No, the next day he tried to find one. It was the day after.
Okay, because I knew we went over to your house on Saturday and then Sunday. I thought it was Sunday. Maybe it was Monday after work or something. Yeah, because he'd asked about it on Sunday. Sunday. Yeah, and
everywhere he went, they were sold out.
Right, and I think he got it at Target too, didn't he? I thought
he got it from a friend of ours. The friend of ours had bought two. Well, he had ordered two. And because he was afraid he wasn't going to get one, and he ended up getting both, so he just sold it to Shane for the same price, for the retail price.
Nice. Didn't scalp him.
Didn't scalp him or anything. And it was the Mario Kart bundle.
Would have had to Rochambeau him for it if he did space scalper prices.
Shane, right.
Feeding the scalpers, but yeah.
But no, he paid the retail price for it. So
that's cool. So yeah, I mean, people, all those naysayers out there are just closeted Nintendo fanboys to help push the value, just to help push it.
Yeah.
They just wanted to follow the popular train of hating on Nintendo,
right? Which like happens a lot, not just with Nintendo, but a lot of different products.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Like I don't hate Nintendo. I just can't really justify spending the $500. I like Nintendo games. I like Sony games. I like Microsoft games. I just not looking forward to the increased prices, and I'm going to bitch about them and bitch about $500 Switch 2. If it wasn't $500, if it was still along the price of the original Switch, I probably would have gotten one, but not at $500. Just not for me, unfortunately.
Right. So once they get some more games,
I'll miss for a while.
That's what I would say to like anybody out there that may be on the fence. Like, unless Mario Kart is a console pusher for you, or playing like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom or any of the ones that they've enhanced, Mario Odyssey and stuff like that. Those games do play like because I've been playing Breath of the Wild and I played a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom with the upgrades, and they play like you would have expected them to be when they came out, right? Like what you would hoped they were when they came out. You're like, man, this looks good, this game's fun, but man, it could really use a little bit more power, right? To really stabilize the frame rate and kind of the graphics and stuff like that. And that's basically what you're getting with these upgrades for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, this is how the game is supposed to be. Well, this is really cool. Like, this looks really good. I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are 4K now. They have HDR, stable frame rate and stuff like that. So it's exactly what you would want on there. But again, if it's not one of those things where you're itching to play Mario Kart or replay one of the old games that you've already played, then I would probably wait. But until they get some more games on there, or a game that you really want, right? Or a few games that you really want.
Right. Yep. So, it's good for Nintendo. Probably bad for the consumer because we're going to feel the pinch of it from all directions now.
From everywhere.
Who knows what that Xbox ROG Ally X is going to cost, and that whatever Sony's answer to a handheld console is going to be.
Yeah.
And then the next generation of PlayStation, how much that thing's going to be. Are we looking at a $700-800 console now? Because they're like, hey, if Nintendo can push out their low-end console at $500, we can push out our high-end full-size console for $800 or $700.
I think, just to put out there like the old rabbit hole, rabbit trail of conspiracy theory. I think because I did hear some rumors or a message about Sony thinking about like it was something about the PlayStation 6, and they were talking about it, and it was kind of talking about how it almost seemed like they were talking about how they were kind of rethinking how they were going to do the PlayStation 6. So the PlayStation 6 may not be a traditional console from Sony. It may not be a traditional just set box top, right? Because really, and I don't know if it'll be a handheld hybrid like the Switch is, or if it's going to be something completely different. Because I think, yes, for us oldies, we like the nostalgia, we like the traditionalness, but the market is changing. And so Microsoft is kind of seeing that, and that's the reason why they're going the direction they are. I don't like it as a gamer, but I understand the reason why they're going that direction, right? And it seems like so far that direction is actually working for them pretty well, right? They don't need that Series X or Series S console, right? Them putting Xbox on everything, even though gamers are like, that's stupid, is working for them, right? It's so far seems to be working for them. They're getting more Game Pass games going exclusively to their service or coming out day one on their service. It seems like it's doing pretty well for them from what I can tell. So I don't know. I think Sony might look at the PlayStation 6 is not a traditional, like just set top box like we have here. More of something completely different, or maybe a hybrid of something, or just something completely not traditional that we would traditionally think of, right?
The Sony Wii U, the Sony U.
Sony U.
I don't know. I don't like that, but at the same time, yeah, the markets are changing. I just don't know. When you're stuck with that handheld form factor, you're hardware limiting at that point, right? You're limited on space on hardware. You're limited on how much power you can put into that form factor. So I don't know. Yeah, like I said, you're stuck with that form factor and the limitations that go along with it. I don't know. Unless you're going to make something the size of an iPad or a tablet, but you're still stuck with the form factor and how much you could shove into that tiny space and make performative, right? Whatever your performance gains are going to be. So I don't know, man. I was completely taken aback by the sale. I figured that the Switch 2 would sell very well in Japan, and it has very well. They sold out of all the region locked ones and then the global ones, because they have two versions, right? In Japan, they have the Japanese version, and then they have the global one. And the global one can do any language, whereas the Japanese one, it's just Japanese. There's no options and stuff like that, from what I understand. So, and it sold very well everywhere except for like the UK. I just think it's because the people in the UK don't travel very far. I've heard stories about them like traveling an hour or two, and this could just be, it could be one of those fallacies, just like you always hear about, an Americans are this or whatever. It could just be, I've heard that Europeans don't, for us, traveling a 3 or 4 hour drive is nothing.
Right.
But to hear them, that's like, oh no, that's a day trip, So for us, that's that's a weekend stay or an extended stay. For us, we can go 4 hours driving and 4 hours back, or 6 hours driving and 6 hours back. I've done it plenty of times.
Right.
So maybe that's them, where the handheld's just not appealing in that aspect. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Nintendo proved me wrong. The Nintendo fan base and everybody out there proved me wrong, that I thought that it wasn't going to sell well. So it did, and it's continuing to sell well, and it will continue to just sell. And I think when you were chatting earlier, like the list of high selling consoles is still the PlayStation 2.
Well, yeah, overall. Of all time, right?
Of all time, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was just saying of the newest ones.
The newest. Oh yeah, the newest ones for sure. Right, the Switch is like third overall selling console of all time.
Yeah,
and I don't even think the PlayStation 5 is the PlayStation 5 even in the top 10. I know the Xbox for sure isn't even in the top 10. Not. So so
maybe the 360 might be in the top 10.
Yeah, I think the 360 is like like under the PS3, like right under it or whatever.
Because PS2 is 1 and PS3 is number 2.
No, DS is number 2.
DS, yeah.
And then the
Switch
is number 3.
handhelds.
Yeah.
No.
The PS3 is actually like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The PS4 actually has sold more than it has.
That makes sense.
Yeah. PS4 is number 5. Too bad it's just not
5.
number 4. PS4.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That'd be funny. But yeah, so I mean, Nintendo holds 3 of the top 5 slots.
Right.
With
they
DS,
make good.
The Switch,
they make
good.
Typically, make good hardware and good software, right?
I mean, I've had every one of those consoles, right? I've had a DS, I've had a Game Boy. I have a Switch. Yep. So, I did not have a PlayStation 2. I had a PS4. I was PC gaming back in those days. I really didn't get back into even the console market until the 360. So, and even then, and then I got a PS3. So, good on Nintendo. Nintendo's just proven to be the company of nostalgia. That's the only thing I can think of why 5 console sells for $500 with a singular release title.
Nostalgia is a bitch.
It is. So everybody online seems to be loving it. So lots of videos. Every time I turn around, there's a new video on the Switch and this setting and this and then doing this and that. Some good, some bad. Right? Like I said,
right.
There's good stuff about people enjoying the games, and there's bad stuff about people have dead Joy-Cons. They have stick drift right out of the box, which that can happen to any manufacturer. You get manufacturing, debris inside that Joy-Con, you're done for. So, and Nintendo's just replaced it. I mean, I would expect nothing less from them, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got anything else you want to say?
Nope. Good luck, and job well done, Nintendo.
Yeah, good for you, Bowser. All right. Well, let us know down in the comments below. Did you pick up a Switch 2? There's a poll we have out on the It Tastes Different, asking if you got a Switch 2 or not. So you can go and put in your thing in on that poll. But other than that, let us know down in the comments. So do you have a Switch 2? Are you enjoying it? If not, are you thinking about getting one? What games are you looking forward to, coming to the Switch 2 that would, if you don't have one, that's going to make you want to get one. Maybe the new Donkey Kong coming out in July or Metroid coming out later on the year. So I don't know. Let us know down in the comments. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like, subscribe, bell notifications, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.